All right. So one way to make a handle, the easiest way I think to make a handle is just to start with a coil. So I'm gonna take like half of this. And I want the coil to be tapered like a carrot. So I make one side smaller in diameter than the other side, and just kind of roll it out. Now it depends on how long or how short a handle you want, like kind of determines the size here. All right, so that should be good, right? So I've got my carrot shape. Now I'm going to take it and drop it on one side, drop it on the other side, drop it again. Sort of like when you're pulling your slabs. Alright, so I'm going to get some paper now so this doesn't stick on here. But you can see now it's starting to get flatter. And it has a nice rounded edge. It's not cut out of a slab where it has those rough edges on it. You don't want to do that. Put some paper down so it doesn't stick. So now I'm going to take a sponge and start to smooth this out. And I'm pulling it towards me. So now's the time I can put some detail into this handle. I can take my thumbs apart like this and create a ridge down the center. That's one way to do it. You could do one thumb down the center. Keep them wet. And then you can take your sponge and kind of clean up the edges a little bit. I want that to show up more, so I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to try to pull it on this paper a little bit, just to stretch it one more time. Yep. Okay, it's kind of a thick handle, but that's okay. So now I'm going to cut up here. So I'll just take a knife of any kind. I'm going to cut sort of at an angle towards me. And you can see now if that cut goes this way. So when I attach it, it's going to go on like that, right? And now this is where it can get tricky. If the clay's too dry, you really want to slowly make that bend. And then it can attach at the bottom, and it can attach here. So that's a pretty decent handle. So I could attach this if I wanted to put it on this mug, which I don't, but I could pick a spot. And I think that's still too long. I would cut away. I don't want the handle being way out here with the liquid here that I'm trying to drink from. I want it a little bit closer. So I would cut that, but I'm gonna let's try this. So I'm gonna take that same angle and cut, making it a little shorter. Any little cracks or anything from the clay just being pulled, you can smooth them out with your finger. And my fingers aren't really wet right now. I'm just using the moisture that's in the clay, and the things go away. You can see that ridge on that handle. That looks pretty nice. It's a nice looking handle. You can stick it on anything, right? So that would be better on here, but I would always want to fix my angle on there. So attaching is just like anything else. Score, slip, and attach, right? So that's one handle. Another way you could do that, like you could take, I'm gonna take this extra here, since that's already sort of in that shape. Pull it out again. I'm gonna get this one a little thinner at the base. You probably can't see what I'm doing. All right, so it's the same thing, but you can see how that's starting to break. But that's a lot thinner right here. but that's how I want it. So now I can take a little bit of water and start to smooth that out. So instead of using my fingers now, I'm going to take something that's round. And that sort of puts a little design on there, right? Clean up the edges. I think I'm going to do a little more. I'm going to go on both sides of it. Just roll it just a little bit. And then do the other side the same way. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I like this one. So you can see that it really makes some cool designs on there, right? Sponge. And that kind of quiet makes the can't talk today. Sort of quietens down the design a little bit, just smoothing out takes some of the edges off. Okay, and then I can start to slowly bend. Anytime that you take it and you bend it too much, I can leave this part on for now. I just want to bend that because that's going to be the base attachment here, and this part I'm going to cut off. But I can leave this part on just to let it sit at that angle, and I can kind of tap it a little bit and get it to bend more. I like this one even better than the first one. Now my favorite handles are pulled handles. And this one's the one that takes a lot more practice to do, but I'm gonna go ahead and roll out a coil. Not on paper. Oh, okay. Get that to stick so it stays up. Roll this out. I just roll a regular coil. It doesn't have to be tapered. And I end up cutting pieces off. So I do this a lot when I'm making a lot of mugs and I want the handle to be pretty much the same on every one. I'll roll out a long coil, then chop up the same size, same amount of clay that I use for all of them. Like if I have 10 mugs, I'm going to cut 10 handles. All right. So now I'll take my knife. I'll cut one end off. Cut this end off. Set this aside. I think I can probably get it to stick on this bisque fired mug and stick it on there and maybe pull it if it'll stay. So this part, right, this coil, I'm going to tap one end of it so that it gets flatter on one side, right? So now it's kind of flat. And then I'm just sort of push this end flatter and work my way back up to the thicker part. Give it a quick little pull just so it starts that motion of what I'm going to do. So this is what it looks like. So now I score my pot, and I'm going to take it like this and put my hand in, because you're not putting this on a bisque fired pot, right? You're sticking it on a clay pot, so it's still wet too. So you want to keep, mostly leather hard. You want to keep the pot from moving too much. Score, slip, attach, really push it on there. Yeah, it's not going to stick. All right, let's try plastic. Sometimes plastic works. All right, and then I turn it upside down. Sort of sticking here. Make sure my attachment's good to go in and really attach all the way around. Smooth it out, because this part is the most important part of the handle, really, to me. It's where my finger makes contact, right? That's the part that needs to be really smooth. So I'm going to take some water and really smooth that out. Let's see, I don't know. I'm gonna move this up a little bit so you can see better. Get my water bucket. Now I can't really see it on the other camera. All right, so let's get a smaller water bucket. This ought to be better. I think everybody can see here. So I just hold my pot that way, and now I'm gonna start pulling. I'm just gonna hold it because it's not gonna stick. Pretend my hand is a pot, right? So now I'm taking my thumb this way and pulling down, turn it around and do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna grab it like this, right? And this shape right here between my thumbs, fingers, and hand, like that shape is what's really kind of pulling this thing down. Start at the bottom and work your way up to the top. So I want it to be thinner at the bottom. You're gonna end up tearing some away. It's okay. So I can just clip that off. You want to make sure it's straight up and down. You're not trying to pull it into a curve. You can see how much thinner it's getting now. Right, so then once I get it pulled all the way, I want to take my cup and sort of move this and turn it upside on its side like this and attach this way. So if it's attached to this, I can attach it down here, score, slip, and attach. Now that's pretty small, but that's one way to get a handle. You can also get in here and shape it a little bit so that it has a nice space. Again, small handle, plastic cup, not a good idea, but whatever works, right? For now, to show you. Smooth out your connection on the bottom. You can score and slip that part too. My pots are usually pretty wet when I attach the handles, so I don't have a problem with the bottoms popping off, so I just push them down in there and really smooth them out. I don't ever really score and slip that. But the tops are, and then they're attached. So that's one way to make a handle. All right, so that's 3 different ways. I mean, you can play around with handles. You can sculpt handles, right? You can shape them in any way you want. As long as you keep things in mind, like your hands or fingers have to fit inside it in order to pick it up and effectively drink. So it's got to support the weight of the cup and the liquid in there. It doesn't take a lot of clay to make a good handle, but you also don't want a tiny little thin handle that doesn't really work, So what I like to look at when I'm looking at a mug is if you look at the top diameter of the mug and then look at the width of the handle, right? If it's too narrow, it looks like it's gonna break, right? The thinness of the handle is not as important as the width, like where it's attached to the mug. Like that part should match with the diameter of the mug. Okay, so that diameter, like depending on if it's a really small one, then it can be narrower, right? So this one has a handle on it, right? And it's that width. I like that width for this diameter, and that's fits my hand pretty well. I'm usually 2 fingers in the mug to hold on to it, right? And it's not super thick. It's not the greatest handle, but it's not bad. But I mean, it fits this pot. So bigger handles for bigger pots. Again, this thickness doesn't matter as much as that width, right? The width here matches up with this pitcher at the top, so you can pick it up and pour it out, right? And sometimes the shape matters. Like you got to make sure you get your hand on something bigger. Any questions about those handles? All right, I'm gonna get that other pot and then attach one of these to it. All right, so this is the pot that I made while you guys were here yesterday. So now I want to figure out where I'm going to put the handle. So because this is slab built and it has a seam over here, I mean, it really, there's two seams, one here and then one where I cut it and put it together. So I like this curve right here. I think a handle would fit nicely there, so you could pick it up and drink it this way. Otherwise, if it was just round, I would put it wherever the seam is, because that'll help kind of hide the seam. All right, I think I like this one the best. Let's see what works with this pot. So again, I don't want to straighten it back out. Once I have that bend, I want to make sure it stays bent. So now I'm going to take this and just cut it off. I think that's going to be too big. I can always pull more off the bottom. I really kind of like that design though. But sometimes things have to go. I think that'll work. I mean, it's kind of a funky mug anyway, so maybe that'll work out all right. So I'm going to attach it underneath here. So what I want to do first is just kind of hold it in place, look at it, and then trace where I want to score. Score the handle and score the mug. Some water. Okay. Now I'm going to place that in there like this. Give it a little push. Now again, I'm working on this connection right here, the space. I really want that to be nice and smooth and kind of have a curve to it because your fingers are round. Okay. And now place the bottom. I like a little bit of that curve right there. Let's see if that's gonna. Okay. This one I would probably do better if I scored and slipped it, but I'm not going to. Put a little pressure there so it can really stick to it. Again, this mug's not super dry. I just stuck it outside for a little bit just to get it where it doesn't deform when I push on it. Clean up any little rough spots. Now I'm going to look at this curve. I think I want more curve up here at this part, so I'm going to get my hands wet. Hold it up. So I'm working this way, kind of round that out a little bit. Make a circle motion with your finger. It's pretty clean. Yeah, I like that a little better. You can also just kind of push them in a direction that you want. I like that shape's even better. So now I've got this. It kind of matches the looseness of the pot. Just that little bit of an angle. So it makes this a lot, it takes it from average to better. All right, so
That's pretty much how I do it.